In the previous episode, I showed how I got the top and bottom dimensions and tips for getting those dimensions. In this episode, we'll spend time setting up a dado cut in the sides for the top and bottoms for the cabinets. We need to cut the dados for the in the sides for the top and bottoms. In order to do that, I need to swap out my regular blade with a dado blade. Unfortunately, I don't have a stacked dado blade. I only have the adjustable wobbler blade. Basically wobbles. It's not the best that you can buy, but it's what I have. It's what I'll end up using. I wish I had a better one, but I don't right now. The plywood, like many plywoods nowadays, isn't really 3/4 inch. It's just a little bit under, so I'll set the width cutting on us a little bit under, and then as usual I'll just take some scrap material and trial and error until I get it to a nice snug fit. You can see with the dado down on the arbor, there's not much room for the arbor washer, so I have to put just the arbor nut back on by itself. So basically what I'm doing is I'm testing the width right now. I need to test it to see if it fits or not. As you can see, it's a little sloppy. By a little, I mean quite a bit. You can actually see the gap right here on the side. What you really want is you want to be able to fit this down nice and snug and then be able to lift it back up. So I'll need to readjust it, unplug the table saw, readjust it to be a little bit narrower, and we'll do another test cut. So this time I got a little too narrow. I can't get my board in, so we'll open it up just a little bit, and we'll just keep dialing it in until we finally get a nice snug fit. And that is how you really need to have it. It's a nice snug fit. Seats all the way down in there, and you can pick up your work material. I'm going to go with that one right there, because what you really want is you want to get enough surface contact on each side here, and as well as here, because on the man-made sheet goods there's a lot of surface bonding material. Not much end grain gluing, it's all edge gluing. It'll glue really nice and strong and really make it stronger. Whereas this one, you're relying a lot on that glue to hold it, and it's just going to break loose after a while. So what I have here is my cabinet denoted by number 9. These are my sides, and these are my tops and bottoms. What you need to do when you're doing this is you need to label out all your sides so that you know which side you're going to be cutting on. For me, with these maple sheet goods, there's kind of two different grain textures on it. One side has this larger texture, and then the other side has this finer grain texture, like you can see here. This side here is going to be my interior of my box, and this side is going to be my exterior. The exterior will be painted or nothing at all if it butts up another cabinet. But when you're cutting the dados in here, you want to not have to think which way's up, which way's down. You want to be able to just grab it, because you don't want to end up having two lefts or two rights. So in the case of me, in this example here, it's going to go pretty much just like this. And then on the inside, it'll have this nice smooth finish. And the same with the tops and bottoms. I'm putting the larger, more redder maple grain on the exterior of the cabinet, and then this color here on the inside. So when it's got a clear coat on it, it'll all look uniform. So basically what I'm working on now is I want to be able to have the bottom of the cabinet about 1/8 inch below this lip here on my face frame. So once I calculate that up, I'll know exactly how high I need to put the top of the dado blade into this groove right here so that it fits in there. This feels like it's about 1/4 inch right now, which is a little more than what I want. I'll probably bump it up just a slight little bit and see how that works. As usual, always start out with a piece of scrap wood. I'm going to use some smaller scrap to see how, make sure I get my depth and everything the way I like it. And as soon as I do, then I'll actually do the real sides. My bottom face frame rail is 1 3/4 inches. What I've done is I've marked on my plywood 1 3/4 inches there. If I subtract 1/8 of an inch, I get this line right here, which is approximately 1 5/8 inches up from the bottom. That is where the edge of my dado needs to go if I want to create that, and the second line would be the bottom of the dado. Now, I haven't fully decided whether or not I want to recess these 1/8 of an inch, create 1/8 of an inch lip, or have it basically the bottom of the cabinet flush right on. More difficult for flush right on because you got to be a little bit more accurate, because you don't have, with this man-made sheet good, you don't have this a lot of room to sand down, because if you sand it down, you're going to go through the veneer and into the substrate. If I set it flush, I got to be pretty much dead on. And that is definitely the more difficult way to do it. It looks nice when you're pulling stuff out. You can just pull it right across. You don't have to worry about lifting up and out. Setting it down is a little easier to have that down, because then you don't have to be as accurate and it's quicker. I haven't decided which way I'm going to go yet. Okay, so to get my measurement, what I did was I put a board in here. It was pretty close, and I just ran it through my table saw, through the dado cutter, and cut it out. And then I took it over to my face frame and measured it in, and it was too high. It was a little off, but running it through ended up creating this, notch here in my miter gauge sacrificial fence. So from that, I was able to measure from here to here, this distance from this edge to there, and get 1 3/4 inches. I decided to go flush with the bottom of the face frame. In all actuality, from this little edge right here to my stop block is actually maybe a 32nd, maybe a 64th under 1 3/4 inch. So there's just a slight little lip, but nothing that you can really feel too much. Just in case I have any inaccuracies or anything, it won't protrude above the face frame. I actually took, you can see that was a bad cut. Always mark an X for your bad cuts so you know which ones you're using. But then I took another piece of the same scrap and I ran it through again, and now when looking at it, it is actually just below, so it fits just perfect. So that's the height I want to cut my dados at. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 2 of my smaller pieces of scrap, and I'm just going to put them on my fence here and rip them like they would be the full sides. And then I'm going to actually take one of the bottom pieces for this cabinet and slip into the dado cut to actually verify 100% that it is perfect. Fortunately, what I'm noticing is there's a ton of chip out, which I really don't want this chip out. So I may put some painter's tape down on this to prevent some of this chip out. Since I do not have a zero clearance dado insert for my table saw, and as you can see, this stock on it, it's pretty wide, so I may put some painter's tape down here, an old trick to keep this chip out, because I do not want this in the inside of the cabinet. That piece is attached to my real bottom. You can see here that it's actually, it is actually really flush. In some places there's a little bit of a gap. I can't really pinch it together too much because I'm just holding it. But right here you can see it's pretty good. And then on each side you can actually see I've got that 1/8 inch reveal of the face frame behind, and then the same on this side, which is pretty much how I want a box to be. I did notice that the dado groove was a little snug. I may widen it up just a little bit, or I may just deal with it. We'll see how maybe another couple of test cuts go with a painter's tape to keep the tear out. It up just a little bit, which resulted in a little bit more of a gap here, which was good. But what I basically did is now I've got a nice flush edge here all the way across, which is what I wanted. Minimal tear out along the sides, along the dado sides. I tried some painter's tape on the plywood and that did not work. It actually tore out worse. So what I did was I just pushed the board through nice and slow at a slow, steady pace with a push paddle down on it, a hold down paddle on it. so that I could keep constant pressure and speed on it, and that seemed to eliminate the tear out. I'm sure a chipper with a dado stack with the side cutters work great for that, to prevent such thing, but I don't have that, unfortunately. Got my little bit of reveal right here. And I've got my little bit of reveal right there. I'm pretty satisfied with the way this is set up, so I think I'm going to go ahead and finish cutting the rest of the sides, the dado on them. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.